Hello there, Ray here, and welcome back. We're going to be looking at 24 tricks and tips that you can do with the new Dripstone. But before you do, make sure to give this video a like as well as share with others. Now let's get into it. I want to say big thanks to everybody who joined during our testing stream. If you guys don't know, right when the new snapshot comes out, we have a server that we update, and you guys can all hop on with me as we test it out, and I live stream this. Make sure you're following me on Twitch. And we actually had one of the Mojang developers, Mr. Henrik, join us in the world and actually played around for a couple hours with us, testing all the new things, answering a lot of different questions that we had about the snapshot. It was a real honor to be able to chill with him and also try to make Minecraft better. So let's take a look at everything we came across. Pointed Dripstone is a new block in 1.17, has a lot of cool uses. Currently it cannot be found in caves, but eventually it will be there. It can be placed on the ground or placed up above. Stalagmites are the ones on the ground, and stalactites are the ones up above. Jumping on the tip of these will do a heart of damage. When you place these blocks down, they are not always in the center. You can see how they're offset different directions. And this is the only other block besides bamboo, which has a collision box that can be offset depending on where it's placed. Now, how it's offset is exactly like bamboo or flowers. So you notice how this flower is off in this corner? Same thing for them. Currently, these guys don't grow on their own, but they will eventually. And you can add more to the tip of them, and they will change shape as well as grow. There is 5 different shapes that they could be. They could be the base, the middle, the frustrum, as well as the tip in thickness. And if the top one as well as bottom one are close enough to each other, they will connect in between. This is a unique block in itself, which is called tip merge. And it makes it look very realistic. Now with these different sizes and their offset, you can actually make these blocks that can be collided with hang over the edge of a block. There's really nothing like this in the game besides piston heads and shulker boxes, which are opened up. You can see that this huge block here is hanging off the edge and you can collide with it. And if we go ahead and hang some from above, you can actually stand on this ledge here. And Henrik, one of the Mojang devs, told us that this was kind of unintentional because the first one is within the boundaries, but then as they grow, they hang over. But he asked us what we thought about it. I told him that this was actually really cool and would be a very unique feature to have in the game. He was wondering if there was any negative effects. We really couldn't think of any, but there are some pretty cool ones, like you could do parkour along the edges here. And seeing as the offset is random depending on locations in the world, it's not something that can be overly abused. So he said they might actually keep it in the game just because it's so unique. Sometimes you're trying to align entities among multiple blocks. By having a block that hangs over, it gives you more precision on how to align them. Maybe if you need to do something really precise, you'd have to find an exact location in order to do it. One of the coolest features about the pointed dripstone is if there is a empty cauldron underneath of it and there is water or lava source directly above the block that is supporting it, it will drip out the same contents as what is above it, and it will slowly fill up these cauldrons. So this water source here made 3 layers of water and filled this whole cauldron up, and then this lava source here took a little bit longer, but it filled it up in one go. This now means we can farm up lava, which used to be a non-renewable resource. So if we go ahead and right click this with a bucket, we now have a lava bucket, and then this thing will continue to drip and fill it up again. We can just keep doing that and farm up lava sources. And we actually designed some lava farms during our snapshot testing. I'll be showing those in an upcoming video. Make sure you guys are subscribed as well as click the bell so you get notifications turned on. Now the distance of the cauldron doesn't matter. So here there is a gap and it still filled it up, but the distance of the liquid does matter. Here there's an extra block and it doesn't work. So you need to have the water or lava right there in order for it to work. Now it does work with waterlogged blocks, but they have to be the same distance away from the pointed dripstone as over here. So having waterlogged here doesn't work. It has to be up there. So with a setup like here, you can make it pretty small. The filling of the cauldrons is based on random ticks, and I just turned them up to 100 times faster, and you can see how fast this thing actually fills up. So it took about 30 seconds times 100, which is about 50 minutes to fill it up. But it definitely can be a lot shorter than that. So there, it's already full. Now because of the offset, these guys can end up kind of overlapping with each other. So you can see these two have 2 different collisions and they're overlapping right there. Very strange to have like actual blocks overlapping each other. There really isn't many blocks in the game that hang over like this. And this looks so weird, but you can see that something similar happens with a piston head. how it hangs over into the next block. But this has so much more variety, and it's a lot easier to do this than to do this in survival. But because there's a slight offset, I can actually push up against this block here and getting stuck in the size difference between the two of these. So I'm pushing forward and I can't go past them. Now Henrik thought this did look kind of strange the way they overlap like this. But if we actually go ahead and turn this around, instead of having it from the ground, if we put it up above, you can see that it kind of looks pretty cool the way that they fill in each other's holes. Depending on if you find different locations like this, you might be able to squeeze between some of these, and in other places you might not be able to. So by turning this one upside down, you can see I can barely make it through these two, where these two obviously you can't make it through. So I really like that variation. Now the farther you fall onto the point of it, the more damage it will do. So if you fall from 8 blocks above it, it will immediately kill you if you don't have any gear on. This is different than just falling normally, which only does 2.5 hearts. That's for any mob that has 20 hearts, which is most of them. Now having some protection on your armor when you hit it does help, but feather falling actually does the most help. So let's go ahead and drop on it. And having a full suit on, go ahead and give that a try. Only does 2 hearts. If the block that's supporting it is removed, it will turn into a falling block and hit the ground and then turn into an item. This is just like sand falling. If we do F3 plus B, we can see the hitbox, a little white line, and we do the same thing with the dripstone. If we remove this block, we can see the hitbox. So it has a lot of the same properties as falling sand. If there is any item that is underneath of it when it falls, go ahead and break it. You can see it actually will destroy the items down there. We got minecart. Let's drop all these on minecart and damage it until it actually dies, and it killed the item too. But it doesn't really seem to be affecting the boat. Here we got a villager, and let's drop it down onto it. You can see it did damage. Let's see how much damage it does. I got 8 blocks above the player, just like the distance I fell onto it, and that instantly killed me. I don't have any armor on, and let's go ahead and flick that. Oh wow, it did 6 hearts of damage. So more damage is done by falling on it from that distance than it falling on you from that distance. So now I have it 12 blocks above me. Go ahead and drop it. Yep, that will instantly kill the player if he doesn't have any armor on. Now when it comes to what blocks the pointed dripstone can be placed on, it is quite a few different types of shapes. The main rule is that the surface that it sits on needs to be all the way up against the edge of the block. So something like an iron bar top of it here is at the very edge of the next block, so it can place it there. Same for here. You can see this for pretty much all the blocks, even stuff like chest are actually flat up against the bottom block here. And honey block is the same way, but because honey block is a little bit shorter on top, you can't place it on top. The size of that surface doesn't really matter. One of the smallest sizes is the iron bar or like the candle. You can take the telescope and zoom in, and you can kind of see that right there is where it switches over to the candle. So it's like barely even touching that. Now some blocks seem to be less than a full block, like soul sand, but visually it is a full block, and you can place these on top. And even like snow layers, since they are a full block, you can place it on top. If you try to like switch out and place it on the bottom side of stuff, it doesn't work. So something like a hopper is similar, where there's no support in the center, so you can't place any on top of that. Even if you remove a block and replace a block extremely fast, it will still dislodge and fall. But if the block center would happen to change, like this trapdoor, it can no longer be supported, so it can't be supported on the edges here. Now besides coming in a lot of different shapes, it can also be waterlogged. So we just click on it and it fills it up. There's some more water. Now currently there's a funny thing you can do, which is put some blocks around it, waterlog it. Then when you remove the blocks, it doesn't do any updates to the water, and placing and removing doesn't do anything. And if you fall on one of these spikes that are waterlogged, you won't take any damage. Now when it comes to the height of the tip here, the point, it is the same as these blocks here, like conduit inside of a hopper and part of a grindstone. And all the other sizes are the same height as a full block. Now when you press up against the side here, the shape does differ. So they're in the same category as like the bamboo, where all these other blocks are very consistent. Now, even though a single one of them won't kill this villager from this height, if there is multiple, they will do multiple damage to the villager. Let's go in survival and see how it looks. You kind of see how it does a bunch of small damage to the player. Now you can protect from this damage that it does when it falls on you by wearing a helmet. Normally did 5 hearts, and now let's do it now. Yeah, only did 2.5, but it does a lot of damage to the helmet just from 6 of these falling on me. Now normally you can make them fall by breaking their supporting block or breaking one of the pieces above the other ones, but you can also break them from a distance by using a trident and hitting one of the pieces and it will break that one and everything else will fall downwards. Now it doesn't work with any other projectile. We asked Henrik if they would add anything else to do this and he said probably not, because he really wanted the trident to be more useful as a tool that people potentially would take with them when they go caving and give it more uses. Also, snowballs are like really light, where a trident is like really heavy. It makes more sense that it would break them. Now when they fall, the farther they fall, the more damage they do, but they do max out at a certain height. We're 20 blocks up. And we got a iron golem down there who has 60 health left. If we go ahead and drop it, this is the maximum height to get the most power out of a single piece. Go ahead, drop it, and it's gonna hit the iron golem. If you check it now, it did exactly 40 health, or equivalent to double the player's health. And that's from 20 blocks up. Anything higher will only do 20 as well. So we should actually be able to kill the wither, but by dropping a whole bunch at once, that's actually kind of inefficient because there is a cooldown on how fast mobs can take damage. But we are up here at the very top. So this is the right height in order to get the maximum amount of damage per each of these. The wither has no AI, so he's not moving around. Let's go ahead and see how many it takes until the wither is dead. So I just click up against here and then it flips them, which drops them, and they're falling down to the wither. Oh wow, okay, that was actually pretty fast. Wow. That was only 8 of these from this distance. So yeah, it definitely pays to go up a lot higher as well as put them down one by one rather than dropping a whole chunk of them. Now this is very similar to the method I showed where you can easily kill withers using about 8 anvils. So if this stays a game, this is probably one of the easier ways to kill a wither without using a bedrock cage. Now because when they fall, they are considered an entity. They can get affected by stuff like bubble columns. You can see it's bouncing it now. And if I go underneath of it in survival, it's difficult to make it actually damage you this way. Similar to like we've seen with like arrows inside a bubble column. And just like sand, it will pop off into an item after a short period of time. This also means it's affected by stuff like powder snow, slows it down, as well as cobwebs. And unlike sand, which you can support, therefore you don't have to have it pop off all the time. Once this thing starts to fall, you can't support it again. And during the stream, the guys made this bouncing effect where it bounces back and forth really quickly. And I simplified it by just putting in 2 observer clocks, and then you put in the stalactite. Then you just flick this lever here, and it bounces back and forth. So let's see if it actually damages the player going up and down. So we'll stand right here. And yeah, you can see it doesn't hurt the player. It's also similar to sand where it could slide up against honey blocks. So if I put one here, and then if I pull this block away so it falls as an entity, and then extend it again so it gets pushed over by that slime block, it should end up over there. Let's go ahead and retract it, and then extend it. You can see how it slowly moves down on the honey. We can even use this to launch towards our enemies, kind of as like a catapult. There you see it hit the villager. So it could be kind of like a weapon of war. So if we eventually can make a farm out of this, you wouldn't want to break like a huge group like this all at once, because the bottom items will get killed by the falling blocks that come after it. So probably if it only grew like a little bit, then you'd want to break like this one and then collect those items. Now when it comes to mobs falling on top of it, if the mobs are immune to fall damage, like iron golems, they don't take any damage from it. Ocelots are another one. They don't take any damage from falling. Same thing for like boats and minecarts. When items fall onto them, they don't also die. Now if they are broken from the bottom, that block itself doesn't drop any items, but you can see the rest of them do. And this way breaking them is safer because they don't fall as falling blocks, so they don't do any damage to entities or the items. Now typically whenever a stalagmite and a stalactite get close enough, they will connect. But if you switch that block out with a trapdoor and then you place it on there, they don't connect up. So one of the viewers actually found this bug here where it constantly just keeps falling and duplicating. If you do F3 plus B, you can see there is one of the falling blocks right there. It's one of those cases where it's trying to change the shape to like one of these different shapes. By the time it switches, then a piece falls off of it, and then it switches to a different shape, and it keeps doing this over and over again. You just get tons and tons of it. We also found a weird glitch that sometimes when you throw a trident on the top of it, it would appear to break it off, but it would only be server side. So then client side, the block would still be there. So you essentially can make ghost blocks. We also came across another weird bug, which when you throw like a trident on the edge of one of these, you can sometimes get stuck like in the side without it actually breaking them. And then the trident will actually be glitched there and you can't pick it up. Here's a screenshot of us actually getting it to work. And you can make some kind of funny shapes with the debug stick, like you can make a small one, or you can make a wide one like this with a little one on top, or you can even make a nice really blunt one. It would be cool if you could also somehow get this to work in survival. Maybe with like Silk Touch Pick you could get all the different sizes and give more things for like the building community to do with it. Let's see how tough the dripstone is. Oh, it's not as tough as I thought. So during their testing, one of the viewers called Jesus actually figured out that if these dripstone are over 50 blocks, then they won't actually fall when you break the block above them. You can actually have them float like this. So now we have one going the other direction. Let's break this block. And that one does fall apart. And when the viewers also found this weird kind of glitch where when the blocks move, they try to fall, but they're kind of being supported by these blocks down here. So they end up actually sticking to the next ones over again. Now dropping gravity blocks from this height here will cause them to duplicate in this situation. And this is the concept behind sand generators. But we can do the same thing with the new dripstone. So if we put it right there and we break that, one piece goes in, but two pieces come out. Also, if you happen to fall on any other piece of it other than the tip, you won't take any damage. So if I go ahead and fall, you see I am sitting right on the edge, but I didn't take any damage. Mobs that enjoy doing a lot of bouncing, like guardians, will end up killing themselves on these. Now you can avoid a single piece hitting you just by jumping when it hits you. Let's see if we can time this. Yeah. Kind of help you to practice if it's possible. Now definitely one of the coolest things is the easy way to kill mobs using these. Dropping them from 8 blocks pretty much kills most mobs, rather than dropping from like 23 blocks. And since the mobs die faster, that means more can spawn in faster. But if you're doing this on a large scale, something like this where mobs fall down and the items land on top of it, they can't get picked up with a hopper minecart. If they land like on the side, then they can. If you're doing a kind of a smaller, you could put a hopper minecart inside of that block and just pick up that. But on a large scale, that wouldn't work so well. Now there are some kind of funny things you can do with rails. It's not always consistent, but one of the things you can do is make these kind of angled rails. So if I do this and then I push this rail over top of that rail, it angles this one, it doesn't pop off. And then when you have something like this, you can make the minecart kind of do this up loop, down loop. And when it does that, it can actually pick up items that are higher than what it normally can pick up. You could use this technique to pick up items, but building those is really tedious. Now you could try to do something like this, but when they fall on this, they don't take any damage. And by making this taller, there's a spot right here where items could get stuck. It is possible to also just glitch these so they're floating in air and rails are underneath of it. That would probably be the nicest. We'll have to see if they make any changes to this in the future that would make using this for like a large scale mob farm a bit nicer. Jeff found this weird bug that if you kind of walk into the base at an angle. Ah, there it goes. Yeah, it's weird. Puts you into elytra mode. Strange. Thanks for showing me. Now in my snapshot review, it said the candles no longer can float. You guys point out that you can put them on something and then just remove that and they'll still float. After talking to the Mojang developer, Henrik, he also said that is intentional. They just don't want people to accidentally make floating candles by clicking or shift clicking onto a already existing candle. And that's why they did that. Even though with like pumpkins and gates, they removed it so you no longer need the supporting block. You can just place those in midair. If you put the telescope on your head using commands, it looks very strange. Almost looks like it's part of your head. And Henrik also mentioned that mobs like polar bears and strays, which were taking damage from the powder snow, doesn't make sense and will probably be fixed in the future. Now there is still some bugs in these snapshots, not only to do with the new stuff, but also some of the old stuff, like the wax copper was still changing color. This used to be wax copper, but it actually changed. Also in the powder snow farm, there's places that it was snowing, but it was actually putting water inside of them instead of snow. There's also some dupe glitches with like bundles, candles, and amethyst. They still have quite a while to fix these bugs before the full release. It was a lot of fun playing around with all these changes with you guys, the viewers, and even having special guest Henrik join us. That was a real pleasant surprise. The people that work on Minecraft really do care about the game, and Minecraft just won the Golden Joystick Award for Best Gaming Community. So that is pretty awesome. And if you guys haven't already, make sure to follow me on my other social links like my Twitter, my Discord. You can find all the links down in the description. If there's any other tricks that you guys come across, let me know. Don't forget to stay tuned because I'm going to be showing some lava block farms. And don't forget to leave this video a like as well as share it. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Since it's a new thing and we've just started snapshotting these things, then we're super open to all kinds of feedback and ideas. So it will probably continue evolving